Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. The middle class of America is getting completely priced out of the housing market. Welcome to our channel, everyone. My name is Dr. Chhoda with Ignition Time. I work hard on this channel every single day, bring you the latest news as it impacts the country, the economy, as well as our money. Here's a headline of an article on your screen from the Wall Street Journal. In the COVID-19 housing market, the middle class is getting priced out. In fact, there's surging demand and shrinking supply, and these are actually combining to making the home buying process much more difficult, and is becoming harder and harder for people to actually afford a home. I'll provide you with a link to this resource in the description section below. Folks, what is the American dream? The American dream is owning your home, paying off your mortgage, having home equity that you can tap into, one day perhaps selling your home and downsizing if you choose to, and living comfortably, maybe even leaving the home as an inheritance for your loved ones. In fact, the dream of home ownership is classically American. Unfortunately, it is becoming more and more difficult for middle-class Americans to afford homes. I'll quote from the Wall Street Journal. The surge in home prices and sharp decline in the number of homes for sale have made home buying much more difficult for many Americans compared with 2 years ago. And this actually was according to a study from the National Association of Realtors that was just released. Here is an image on your screen that shows you the share of listings that are affordable by income bracket. As you can start to see, and by the way, the income brackets are shown at the bottom. You'll see that those in the less than $15,000 income bracket, there's not much change in terms of affordability. But as individuals start to make a little bit more money, we're talking $50,000 to $75,000 a year, $75,000 to $100,000 a year and above, you can start to see that in 2021, listings that are affordable by income bracket have started to reduce significantly, even for those who make a substantial amount of money. Those making above $200,000 a year, even for them in 2021, the listings that are affordable have actually reduced. In fact, at the end of last year, 2021, there were about 411,000 fewer homes on the market that were considered affordable for households earning between $75,000 and $100,000. At the end of 2019, there was only one available listing that was affordable for every 24 households in this income bracket. By December 2021, that figure was one listing for every 65 households. In other words, more and more people are now finding that they simply cannot find an affordable home, even if they are in a higher income bracket. Pretty incredible. In fact, according to the Wall Street Journal, unlike traditional measures of housing affordability, which typically compare housing costs to income and mortgages, in fact, this study found that housing affordability worsened over the past 2 years for everyone except the wealthiest Americans. And in fact, the shrinking number of homes on the market made the home buying process much more difficult for every income bracket. In fact, the pandemic essentially lit up the housing market because buyers were trying to take advantage of low mortgage rates, moving into bigger homes. But the supply of homes for sale, which by the way was very low during the pandemic, actually reduced. In fact, home building activity slowed down, and many potential sellers said that they would not sell or were reluctant to sell. In fact, Americans in middle income class levels experienced significant declines in buying power. In fact, let's show you this image on your screen that shows you metro areas with the least homes for sale for annual incomes of $75,000 to $100,000. So you can start to see in California and Washington, the number of homes that were available for sale started to decrease. And let's take a look at the metro areas with the most homes for sale. You can start to see that Texas, Georgia, Iowa, and other states actually had more homes for sale. But in general, the number of homes for sale are actually reducing. More and more Americans try and build wealth through home ownership, but guess what? It's not happening. In fact, according to Skylar Olson, who's a principal economist at the mortgage finance startup Tomo Networks, it's hard when both options are eroding in affordability so quickly. That will just make your future wealth building even harder. So folks, this is pretty incredible if you actually think about it. And also for households earning between $75,000 to $100,000, they could afford to buy 51% of the active housing inventory in December, down from 58% in December 2019. So in other words, even for those making more money, they were able to afford less simply because there weren't many homes for sale and home prices had gone up. So this is pretty significant. And at the end of the day, there are, more and more people who want to buy, but there are fewer and fewer options available to them, and there are fewer and fewer homes that they can afford. Now, Mortgage rates have been low, but unfortunately, interest rates are going to go up, which is going to make it even harder for people to be able to afford homes. And something tells me that even when mortgage rates rise, I don't think home prices will come down, because at the end of the day, everything is about supply and demand. It's okay for mortgage rates to rise, but if there aren't a lot of homes on the market, you're still going to have to pay top dollar for a home that you want. And on top of that, your interest rate is probably going to be higher, even if you're wealthy. In fact, for households earning between $75,000 to $100,000 a year, 5 of the top 6 metro areas with the fewest affordable homes for sale per household were actually in the state of California, again making it harder than ever for individuals to be able to afford homes. Now, some economists and real estate agents expect that the number of homes for sale will rise this spring, and there could be essentially a more easing, if you will, of the supply and demand problem. But the problem is not a lot of people are selling their homes, and the number of homes currently under construction is at a multi-year high, and many of these homes are set to be completed this year. So when those homes hit the market, maybe, just maybe, the situation might ease up. But I have a feeling that interest rates will go up and home prices will remain high, because there's just too much demand and there is not enough supply. In fact, here's a quote from Jemmy Khan, who's a real estate agent in Texas. She said she wrote dozens of offers on behalf of her clients in January, and she said everyone's predicting the rate is going to go up more, so those people are scrambling to lock something. There are so many buyers out there who haven't found their home. And unfortunately, folks, the middle class is getting priced out. And now, when interest rates rise, I think the middle class is going to feel the pinch even more. Why? Again, there's surging demand and shrinking supply, which are making it difficult for people to find homes. There are fewer options, and it's becoming harder and harder for people to afford homes, because even if they're earning a high salary, inflation is cutting into their ability to save. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Please click the like button. Please click subscribe. Please enable notifications. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. Thank you so much for being a viewer. Thank you so much for being a subscriber. I appreciate you. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.